few seconds, few minutes for people to start hopping in. But I'm Julian. I am a team lead over on the member operations team. And over here, we have the amazing Lauren. Um,
Hi.
Lauren is on and one of our amazing senior member success specialists. Did I get that right? I got
Yeah.
that right, Lauren?
Yep. Right.
Okay, good. Um, yeah, so that's as you all may notice or may not have noticed, we are starting Facebook Live a little earlier this week. We are trying out a few different times. Um, so maybe this is a good 30-minute quick lunch break video. Let us know if you like that. Let us know if you prefer it to be earlier. Let us know if you prefer it to be a little later in the day. We're trying out a lot of different things here, so whatever works best is probably what we're gonna stick with. So just playing around with a lot of things. Now that we have a few more people coming in, again, welcome to our weekly Scotchy Flights Facebook Live. I'm Julian. This is Lauren. We're going to be talking about international travel today.
Mhm.
Of course, that means international travel when we're able to.
Mhm.
But to kick us off, Lauren, can you give us, a quick introduction of yourself for the people who may not know you, and also, what are your thoughts on international travel? What is your experience?
Yeah. And I should say, like, we're gonna be talking about like daydreaming. So like get those
Mhm.
juices flowing about like when you're ready to travel again, where are the places you want to go? Because I consider that that's definitely on my mind. So more about me. As Julian said, I am on the member success team, and basically that's a fancy word for our customer service. And so if you've ever email Scott's Cheap Flights, so support at scottscheapflights.com. You will get someone on my team. There are 6 of us who answer your emails. So no robots, just humans here. We will answer you and help you out. Anything about your account, anything about travel advice, we are here. And so, like I said, I'm excited about this topic today to talk about like wanderlust and international travel because that's like a huge part of who I am. Back up a little bit about my story. So I live in Montana now, but I used to live in Chicago. A couple years back, I was just like, you know what? I could go anywhere in the world, and I'm tired of living in Chicago for various reasons. And I actually, before I ended up landing in Montana, sight unseen, by the way, I was going to move to Berlin. Just, I don't speak any German. I do have a dachshund who's here on the floor. So that was a little bit, I was like, he'll fit right in. So I was just going to up and go because something also awesome about like going places internationally is like you get to experience all these other cultures and people you'll never otherwise meet. And so I was just going to go there and explore and live there and meet my little dog. Didn't end up happening for a lot of reasons, but I did that a little bit in the US and then ended up in Montana, which I love. So,
Yeah. I mean, that's amazing. I think the dachshund for sure. I think that is a big selling point. It's like,
he would have loved it.
welcome home. Yeah, I know. Oh man, that's amazing. Yeah, for everyone, for everyone here, for everyone watching, please drop in the comments any flight questions you may have, any travel questions you may have, any international travel questions, or just simply where do you want to go when we can start traveling again.
Mhm, mhm.
So I mean, I my list is endless at this
Yeah,
point. And
mine's pretty long too.
yeah, but I was actually talking to someone the other day, and they were saying that because of coronavirus, it's made my list more specific, or I've
Mhm.
kind of been more, what's the word? Been more. I keep going back to specific. Yeah, I'm just more, like
Curating the list.
restrictive of my list. Yeah, because
Mhm.
now before it's like I can go here, I can go here. Where do I go? And now because we can't go everywhere, especially now, it's like, well, when I can go, I have to go here. This other place I can save for 2 years, 3 years down the line.
That's a
Um,
really good point.
Yeah. So have you kind of had that same feeling, Lauren?
Yes, yes. So, like you said, my list in the beginning, I have a whiteboard on my wall here. This is my office where I usually work, and I just been writing down like places to go, just like I said, like a wanderlust like list. But
Yeah.
like you said, if I can only go a couple of places once things are opening up again, where do I want to go first? And it has made my list much more curated. The first place I'm definitely going to go, and this is kind of a fun story, is Iceland, and then we're going to hop over to Sweden. Oh, you're going to hear one of my dogs barking.
Okay.
Both of them barking. So the reason why, though, is so my partner is Swedish. His grandparents live still in Sweden. And so the reason why we want to go there is he always jokes that he's a Viking. And we want to go there and check out all of the like ancestry, visit his family that he's never seen, and just really experience that whole like Icelandic culture, and then go over to Sweden and experience their culture too, which is a little bit different, of course. Let me grab him.
Yeah.
My dachshund, who is loud.
Amazing. There you go. Yeah, I mean, speaking of international travel, that was one of the first places. I went to Iceland with a few good friends of mine, but I went to Sweden and Norway as one of my first solo trips.
Oh, really?
And Sweden, Norway, amazing places, was not anywhere near my top 20, top 50 places I found. Oh, what is this time? What is this countdown? That was a weird countdown that came through.
That was weird. We're back.
Yeah. But it was a mistake for a deal that came through, and I was like, there's just some fares where you're like, I can't not book it. So it was $156 round trip out of DC to Stockholm, and it is now one of my favorite places, which is, kind of why I love these deals. It's like I never would have thought of going here, but now that now that the deal has arrived in my inbox, maybe I'll look into it a little. Like maybe
Yeah.
I'll do that. And it leads to, a lot of window shopping for deals, research
Mm-hmm.
for places you may have never gone to. And I mean, I know you have, a lot of experience and thoughts on this, but the daydreaming of trips, I think that's a huge part of it. So yeah, what do you have any thoughts on that, Lauren?
Yes, that is a really good the window shopping that you just mentioned kind of goes
Yep.
hand in hand with daydreaming. So this is another thing about me. Before I started working here at Scott's, I was a customer, and I was a customer for 2 years, and I
Ooh.
never actually purchased any deals, but I loved it for the window shopping and the daydreaming aspect. I was like, oh, I would see a deal come through and will like make my day. Especially because I live in Montana. My airport is not an international hub, but it doesn't mean we don't search from deals from smaller airports. We do. It's just like a little bit fewer and far between because of airline competition and all that jazz. But when a deal came through, I was like, ooh, there's something out of Bozeman, Montana. I could go somewhere. And so it just like got those creative juices going for wouldn't it be nice when kind of thing.
Yeah. I think that's one of the coolest things about the deals that we send. And it's nothing that I ever thought about. For me, it was like you're interested in a place, you're not interested in a place. There's really not too much gray area before. And I think one of these days I had a conversation with Scott or something like 2 years ago or something. And he was like, yeah, a big part of our deals are that window shopping aspect, that inspiration aspect of
Inspiration.
maybe, yeah, maybe I haven't thought of this place, but like I didn't know this place was this pretty. I didn't know this place, the food here is so famous. And I probably
Mhm.
never would have come across it if I didn't, just look into it for a split second. So
Exactly.
yeah,
Exactly.
I think that daydreaming aspect is a very big and important part of the deals and travel in general. Travel
Yeah.
is it's a lot of dreaming of travel and
Especially right now when, if we can get so sucked into the now and all the crazy things that are happening, it can kind of bring us down from a mental health perspective. And if we start to then try to think about the positive or where we can go when things get better, at least for me, it uplifts like any kind of like down feelings that I'm having. Is like, hey, I can start to
Yeah.
think about when I can travel to this place I really wanted to go and to explore and to experience.
Yeah, no, I think that's a very good point, and it actually transitions into one of the questions that someone asked. So
Oh,
before we hop into some questions, another quick reminder: I'm Julian. This is Lauren
hi.
from Scotchy Flights. We are doing our weekly Facebook Live for a lot of you who are watching who have joined into a few of our Facebook Lives. We're starting a little early. We're trying out a few different times. You know, maybe earlier this week, 1 p.m. Eastern. Next week, we might go back to our normal 4 p.m. Eastern. So let us know if the earlier time is good. If you prefer our normal time, maybe even a little later. You know, whatever preferences everyone has, feel free to leave it in the comments. Also, feel free to leave in the comments where you want to travel, or
Mhm,
as Lauren said, any tickets that you've booked or any places that you're really looking into, especially internationally right
mhm,
now.
mhm.
And to go back to what you were saying, Lauren, about daydreaming about trips, I think it's almost I would go to say therapeutic to have a trip planned so you have something to look forward to,
Yes,
right? Mhm.
exactly. Very therapeutic to get your mind on something more positive that you're personally looking forward to. It can, I think it really helps to uplift at least my spirit when I start to think about that. So that's actually what I'm thinking about right now. 2020 was supposed to be the year that I solo traveled all over the world.
Yeah.
Obviously, a little bit derailed here. So starting to think about, okay, so what can I do next year? And the deals that we're sending out now are for, especially for international, 3 to 4 months down the road. So we're towards the end of the year already. So we're talking about 2021. So even if there's a deal that we send or a place you want to go that has a travel restriction right now, just keep in mind that that may not be the case next year when
Yeah.
your trip is actually happening. Um, you can things are fluid and frequently changing, and we got your back. We're looking at that all the time. So when we send out a deal for a place, we've already kind of taken that into consideration that it's beyond whatever the current travel restrictions are. And of course, with airlines that have flexible change and cancellation policies, so you're protected as much as you can be when thinking about booking future travel.
Yeah, that's definitely a really good point, and definitely something to keep in mind as booking now, booking later down the line.
Mhm.
One of the comments that we got is, I think this is probably a YouTube screen name. Bonkers about Alice said it's 6 p.m. here in England. Great time, guys. So I'm glad someone, at least one person, is liking this new time that we're trying out. But he also asked a question, which ties into what we were talking about. um, they ask, question, is it better to take a risk and book an amazing deal now, or wait for more stable and reliable travel, but at a higher price as demand will go up?
Good question.
Lauren, any thoughts to start us off?
Um, so so it comes down a little bit one to personal preference. Are you more of a risk taker? So this is a little bit of a risk. Um, if it were me, I would take a little bit of the risk and grab the great price, knowing that, like I said, a lot of these airlines have really flexible policies right now. Either they have completely waived chains free fees, you're able to cancel with some kind of protections. So before you do anything, I would read that. And if you're looking at something that we send a deal off of to, we have linked to that. I would say read it, make sure you're covered, and then I would grab the really great price, because at the end of the day, a lot of it's just it makes it all the better if you can snag the really great deal. Julian, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, that you covered, I think, almost every single point that I would have talked about. Again, I want to reemphasize the personal preference. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, for some, when you book a flight, right now most of the airlines have waived change fees. Also,
Mhm.
very for some reason a very hard phrase to say repeatedly.
I know.
Waived change fees. every single time, every week I talk about it, I mess something up. So if you have to change your flight because you're not comfortable in flying or any other reason down the line, change fees are waived. But cancellation fees, more than likely and definitely more than likely, are not waived. But if you are able to and comfortable with taking airline credit for most of these changes or I guess refunds in a sense, that is okay. In that case, I would say take the risk, book an amazing deal now. But know that if you book a ticket and the flight itself is not canceled, more than likely you are not going to get a refund in cash. So if you are looking, if you are uncomfortable with booking and not possibly getting back a refund in cash, I would probably say maybe wait and book your tickets a little later when you are a little more comfortable. But if you are fine with maybe changing your flights and being okay with the waived change fees and making sure that the airline is providing that and it falls under the restrictions, then yeah, I would definitely say take a risk and book an amazing deal now. We're definitely seeing a lot of amazing deals, both domestically, but since we're focused on international, we're seeing some great international deals out now as well. So
yeah.
More questions. Allison. Hey, Allison. Good friend Allison. So she asks two questions. So she says, good morning. Hey, Allison. Do you see Trump's COVID infection influencing timelines on Americans being able to travel to foreign countries? And then the second question is, and do you see one region opening before others? For example, Asia versus Europe. I'll quickly grab that first question. I think it's more on the numbers in the U.S. And I think that's really the main focus. And I think that also touches upon this second question too. There may be regions that open up before others, but right now we're at a point where it's kind of a two-step thought process now. It's one, are regions going to start opening up? And two, will they start allowing for us, I mainly, because our members, we only send flight deals out of the U.S. That's mainly who I'm thinking about here. The second step is, will they allow U.S. citizens? And that really all comes down to how we are handling the pandemic, how we are handling our numbers, and where our numbers are going. If they're growing, even if some regions open up, we're seeing that with Europe now. It's unlikely for us to get there, at least not get there soon or easily. If the numbers start going down, I definitely see regions opening up. Like Allison, she asked another question actually. Hawaii is supposed to reopen tomorrow. Do you see that happening? I do. That's a good question. I think it really depends on the restrictions and how everything goes in the next. For Hawaii, I don't have an answer there. I think I'd have to look at the numbers and everything a lot more. But it really truly does come down to how we are doing, how we're looking at the numbers, and making sure that everything's good on our end until we can start looking outwards. Lauren, what are your thoughts here?
I agree. I think it comes down to just like our rates. Are we going up? Are we going back on the downward swing? And so Julian said, like, even though like there are some areas around the world that are opening in general, we're going to have to see if it's available to U.S. citizens, or if it is, like, is there a quarantine in place? Does it say like, yes, U.S. citizens can come, but you have to show proof of a negative COVID test? So there could be some. I think there's like a scale, right? It could be like, yes, totally open, and there are some countries totally open right now that allow U.S. citizens, all the way to the other end of the spectrum. Like, yes, you can come, but you have to show proof of a negative test. So again, like, doing your homework before you book to make sure you're comfortable with any of those restrictions is definitely the way to go. And it's something I'm going to be doing myself.
Yeah, I think that's definitely the way to look at it. We have a few comments here. Barbara says Tahiti and Greece of places that our members may want to go to in the future when international travel is there. I highly agree. I mean, I don't think you can go
Greece is
wrong
on my
with.
list.
Yeah, Greece was probably one of my favorite places to go, and I didn't even have the best experience, and I still love it. So
What happened?
so actually, I've talked about it. I've talked about it here on Facebook Lives before. So maybe some people already know this story, but long story short, I got my passport stolen um, in Athens. But that's the thing. Even with that experience, still loved it, still want to go back, still I absolutely loved Greece. I travel for food, that's a big part of it, so I love the cuisine there. And also um, Athens itself I actually thought was pretty beautiful, and so many things to do, but then also so many other places in Greece are just, I mean, just breathtaking is the underrated word to use. So
Yeah, I travel for history and like culture and all that kind of stuff. And
yeah.
I took a class on like Greek history in college, and it was
Yeah.
one hard, but really interesting. And I've always wanted to go and
Yep.
experience like just everything about like that very like historic place and the architecture and its history, like all of that. Like I just want to check it out. It's definitely on my
Yeah.
list.
Yeah, for sure. Antoinette also says Scotland, please. So
Yes, beautiful.
I also
Mhm.
want to. I've never been, so that's definitely on my list as well. Carl asks, he'd love an update on when airline change fees continue / date changes or extensions, and which airlines. So um, generally, right now, most of the legacy carriers, Delta, American, United, most of their change fees, waived change fees, are applicable through travel booked December 31st, 2020. Of course, that date has been changing. So based off the numbers, I mean, they started off travel booked by April 30th, 2020. And then May, and then kept going, and now we're in December. So it really comes down to, again, I keep saying it, what our numbers look like, what travel looks like, if they continue changing it. But most airlines right now do allow wave change fees by travel booked through December 31st, 2020. A good resource, honestly, to use is in every single one of our deals, we do include the airline link, the airline website link, showing you exactly what the wave change fees dates are, any restrictions, any fees, all of the information that you need to know will be included in one of the airline links that we do send out. So make sure to read the top of our deals, and that is where a lot of our information will be. So
Mhm.
more comments. Preety says, I just flew into Scotland. Ooh, very jealous. Self quarantine for 14 days. That's the only requirement. After that, I am considering Serbia. So
Wow.
that
Yeah, that is like Central Europe, like that whole like kind of area is definitely like on my list for lots of reasons.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. There's, again, it goes back to what we originally said. There's so many places on the list of places I want to go, but have to narrow that down and really choose. Be picky on where I want to go going forward.
Well, you travel for food, so what's the next type of cuisine that you really want to enjoy?
That is a tough one. That's like, I feel like that should be an easy question, but there's just so many different cuisines out there
Yeah.
that I want to go to Turkey. I'm a big fan. I probably got this from my mom. My mom loves Mediterranean food.
Mhm.
So I mean, that's why I loved Greece. I loved kind of just, I mean, it's so hard to pick. I think that's what it comes down to. But Turkey's definitely on my list. I want to go back to Greece. Um, I want to go back to New Zealand. And I feel like that might be a cop out answer. That might be like, oh, everyone wants to go to New Zealand or something. But I just had some amazing lamb there, and I'm a big fan of lamb. So
Yeah.
that might be my list right there. Um,
I'm
what
really
I
into wagyu. Go ahead. No, go
No, no,
ahead.
no. I was just gonna say, like, since you're big into, you said the culture, the history. What's on your list? What's on your mind there?
So yeah, so I'm really talking about like kind of like culture. So fly fishing is something I'm really into, and fly fishing is really big in New Zealand. And so that is one of the places on my list that is near the top. Is I want to go to New Zealand and
Yep.
really get into the fly fishing there. They have some amazing waters, and it's a really awesome sport and something that's part of that a New Zealand culture that not everybody knows about if you're not really into the sport. So
Yeah.
I definitely I'm gonna go to New Zealand.
That's exciting. Yeah, I by far one of my favorite places in the world. Again, I feel like it almost becomes one of everyone's favorite places to go once they go
Mm-hmm.
there. So excited for you to do that for sure. Um, let's keep it going. We have a few people with trips planned or about to go on trips.
Okay,
Fame
awesome.
is, I'm assuming from YouTube, says, "Hi guys, gosh, I wish I could make it to Japan for my third time. Super jealous. Any
Pretty
updates on them
there.
opening up?" Yeah. So as of now, Allison also says, "I have trips next year planned for Japan in March. Feeling unlikely at this point." I'm with you there, Allison. Yeah, as of now, the plan or the update on reopening looks like it will be April, but that's still, I mean, again, the date has changed a few times now. So hopefully by April, if your trip is after April, you'll be able to go, or you'll be able to go without too many restrictions. But as of now, again, it kind of just, a lot of it depends on what travel looks like and where our numbers are at this point. But I'm hoping you're able to get there. So we'll see. So Brian says heading to Egypt on November 5th. No 14-day quarantine. Interesting.
Oh, good
Um,
to know.
yeah. And then Sean also says in Nova Scotia, second day of 14-day quarantine.
Mm-hmm.
I actually have a question for you, Lauren, or for everyone
Mm-hmm.
watching. What are their what are the go-to self-quarantine, stuck in a hotel activities to do? I mean, I have in my head, I can think of maybe a book and maybe bringing like a Nintendo Switch or something. And then I'm out of ideas. And that's what, like 3 hours
I
into
love
one day?
it, Julian. I love it.
I know,
You
yeah.
know,
So, uh-huh.
I've been thinking this too, because there are a lot of places that are open to us if you can do
Yep,
the quarantine. And to be fair, not everyone can do the quarantine. That means your trip is longer, it's more
yep.
expensive. I mean, there are a lot of reasons why you just cannot do the quarantine. But if you can, maybe you can make it fun. If you're traveling with other folks, then you have like a built-in party right there. You're not by yourself in the
Yeah,
quarantine. If you're able to swing it as well, and say you're staying like an Airbnb or something like that, it's not just like a box hotel room. Maybe the place that you're staying is a little bit nicer and they have things there for you to do. Also, I believe you can still order food to you, so you can experience cuisine that way as well. By ordering in and having things delivered. Obviously it depends on where you're staying and all those
right,
kinds
of
of
course.
restrictions or anything, but
Yeah.
you can still experience cuisine. I would say if you're thinking about going somewhere that does have a 14-day quarantine, I would not do a solo trip. I would do it with other people who I enjoy, and that way I'm not by myself and I can still have a good time with the people I'm traveling with, and then go out once the
I
quarantine's
think
over.
I think that was a very underrated sentence that you kind of snuck in there. With people that I enjoy. That is that's
It's
definitely
not just anybody.
very important. Yeah, I agree. And anyone else, please comment below any
Yeah, what are
activities,
your ideas?
any books, anything that you recommend for any type of quarantine, whether it be the 14-day quarantine. Um, so Matt says just booked Paris for $386 round trip. That's amazing, Matt.
Woo-hoo.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's I mean that's not only what we're here for, but that's exactly what we do. Is we send out cheap flight deals, and we hope that people, if it works for where you want to go and all of that, that you grab and go on the trip of your life. That makes us happy, and that's probably one of the things when people tell us they booked this deal, or they booked whatever else deal through because of us, or because of a deal that they may have gotten, or I mean, not even a deal that they've gotten through us, just they're traveling on a great deal. That makes us happy, and that's what we're here for.
Yes. Yes.
So yeah, that's amazing, Matt. Really happy for you. James asks, Scott Cheap Flights is great for flight deals. You know what? I've got to say, I agree. It is.
Yeah. We
What?
have bias. We agree.
Yeah, maybe. What sites or services do you recommend for booking accommodations, transportation, etc.? That's a great question. Lauren, what do you use?
So I'm of two minds of this. I can sometimes be a little bit of a bougie traveler,
Mm-hmm.
depending on what kind of experience I want to have. So I'll go for like the nice hotel and everything like that. And I'll usually, if I'm doing that, I'll go straight to like the hotel's website. If I want to travel and be a little bit more like in the culture and in an experience, I'll usually do like an Airbnb. I'll look for ground transportation. Like for instance, I know that in Italy, transportation by train is really underrated, but it's a great way to like see the countryside, and it's usually cheaper. So think a little bit about what type of experience you want to have depending on where you're going, and then kind of gear to that. So if I want to be a little bit like bougier traveler because I'm fancy, I'll go straight to like hotel websites and do all that kind of stuff. But if I'm trying to just do it on the cheap and really get into it, then I'll do like, or even like, I know a lot of people who do like hostels and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't have necessarily a go-to service that I use, but I do like to look at like blogs and stuff and read comments for like what other people do. And see like what experiences they have, because like local like recommendations is like really great way that I find all my tips. What about you, Julian?
Yeah, especially for transportation. I think the first place I go to is always be plugging our Scotchy Flights Travel Community on
Yes,
Facebook.
that's true.
That's not even a joke, really. I actually go to the site, and I look for best ways to transfer to get around the whatever place I'm traveling, and also like the local spots or the local places to eat. That's
Yes.
usually everyone's asked them. So a lot of great information there. So check it out if you haven't. Um, Other than that, exactly what you say. I go to Reddit. I go to a lot of these
Yes, Reddit's
other
a great place.
yeah, a lot of these other places just to see, like, do I need a train pass? Can I walk everywhere? Can I take a bus, or do I need to rent a car? So a lot of that depends on what I'm doing. So again, yeah, unfortunately I don't have too many transportation booking sites. I usually just go to maybe like Kayak
Mhm.
or one of those sites. So if anyone else has great transportation booking sites recommendations, please drop them in the comments for James. Booking is different. I always look at Airbnb if it's
Mhm.
available. I've also recently I mean like the past like 5 years. So I don't know if I can use the term recently anymore, but have been having some really great experiences with hostels.
Mhm.
Especially if I'm
Mhm.
traveling just by myself or with my girlfriend, just the two of us. It's always great to meet people while you're traveling, and just making new friends is always a great way to experience a new culture as well. And I mainly use Hostel World. We're not sponsored or anything. This is solely me saying what I use. So Hostel World is one that I use a lot. Um, and if I'm looking for hotels, usually Kayak or hotels.com, I think, are the ones that I go to for now. But yeah, if anyone has great booking sites, transportation sites that you use, please drop them in the comments. You have time for like one or two more questions, Lauren?
Yep, hit me with it.
Awesome. All right. So we have a few more. Oh, Allison, thank you with the comment. She says this time is a bit early for the West Coast. Would prefer later. So we'll definitely keep that in mind. Thank you for letting us know. If anyone else has a preference or has an opinion, please let us know as well.
Mhm.
Jennifer says Greek islands dream trip. That is
Yes.
definitely a dream trip. Yeah. I was just in Santorini when I was in Athens, and one of my favorite places in the world now. So
Oh,
no
jealous.
complaints there. Yeah. Um, so Dennis or Denise, please let me know if I'm pronouncing it wrong. What are local destinations that have very cheap flights from Washington D.C.?
Hmm.
Maybe I was biased from picking this question because I'm from the DC area and love DC. Um, just so we're always looking. That's my first answer. We're always looking for deals out of the majority of the U.S. airports. DC specifically that we've sent. I actually searched it up very quickly. In the past, few days, few weeks, out of, and it obviously depends on what airport you're looking for. Usually, I traveled out of Dulles or Reagan. BWI is also obviously another option.
Mhm.
We sent. I was going to say we sent San Diego pretty recently. I don't know if that's considered local. I don't know if local is domestic or local is like within the eastern, East
Mm,
Coast.
mhm.
But we've sent a good amount of Florida recently as well. Chicago, we sent for $98 nonstop.
Wow, that's a steaming
So
deal.
I think that counts as very cheap flights and local destination or
Mhm.
close enough. And then we've also, we've sent, again, we have Orlando here. We've sent Nashville and we've also sent Denver. And this is just Reagan. I haven't even looked into what we sent for Dulles, where we usually get a few more flights depending on, here and there. So there's definitely a few good ones. I do think the ones we've normally seen have been Florida. We've seen a good amount of Boston, and we've seen a good amount of Chicago too. If you're looking to kind of stay in somewhat of an east radius of the U.S.,
Mhm.
so
Mhm.
definitely ones to check out. Um, Let us see. Final
Well, here's
question.
a tip about that, Julian, that
Yeah,
you just said. It doesn't apply so much to like domestic flights, but if you're looking for like really cheap flights, from DC, also think about the surrounding airports in that region. So you mentioned BWI in Baltimore.
yeah,
Also follow that airport in your preferences for international flights because often it's overall cheaper for you to get a cheap international deal, say for instance from Baltimore to Greece, and then grab a connecting flight from DC to Baltimore. That overall is cheaper than waiting or trying to fly direct, even at full price from DC to Greece. So it doesn't work so much for domestic because you're not going that far, but definitely for international travel, think about subscribing to your home airport and then airports like in your near region. Like I'm in Montana, I also subscribe to like Seattle and Portland, because those airports get a ton of deals, and I can fly from Portland to Greece and then
yeah.
grab a connecting flight from Montana to Portland.
For sure. Yeah, and I mean, I'll be a little selfish here, and I'll take the final question. And
Sure.
it's you, Lauren. Like, what that was a great tip and something that we tell the members all the time. What other or what's one of your favorite tips, travel tips, or anything else that you wanted to bring up about international travel?
Yeah. One of the things I often see when members write in is they're looking for a specific destination, and that's how they want to use us. And like, yes, we definitely are keeping like our eyes peeled for like those top locations, but be a little bit flexible when you're thinking about where you want to go. If you're like, I spoke to this woman member, they were going to Italy for their daughter's wedding next May. Like that's very, very specific. But keep your eyes peeled like now for that because we don't know when that's going to come up because it's not necessarily up to us what deals we send. It's based on like what the airlines have available. And if that matches the routes and dates and everything. And then so if we see a really great deal, we send it out. So keep your eyes peeled now. And then, like I said, like follow more than just your home airport. Follow like other ones in the region so you can kind of piece it together. But if you have a very specific place you're thinking about in 2021, start to really kind of watch our deals now because if you see something, snag it, especially if it's specific and there's a reason you need to go there. Like this gentleman was going for his daughter's wedding.
Yeah. I mean, that might be our North Star over here at Scott Cheap Flights. I think Scott says this all the time where the best deal you're going to get is when you're flexible. Obviously, as you said, can't always be flexible, and that's completely fine. And we're looking out for everything. But how are you going to get the best deals? The way Scott always says it is most people, when looking for flights, looking for a trip to take, they always look at the destination first, and then the dates that they can that work for them, and then finally the price. And the best way to get the absolute best deals is flipping that on its head.
Yeah.
Look
Yeah.
at look at the prices first, and then look at what dates are possible. So just say I'm looking on Explore Map, Google, and I see, oh wow, there's a few $200 from DC to Europe in general, round trip flights to take. And then I look at the prices and I'm like, oh, some of these dates actually, or this week falls under when I would be able to go. And then it's like, oh, and this is a trip to Italy that's on my list, and it's somewhere I want to go. And suddenly from there, you're probably going from a 800, 1200, $1,500 flight to possibly a $200 round trip flight, $300 round trip flight, just because you're changing, the order of how you think when you do go book flights. So definitely something to keep.
And one quick follow-up to that I want to reinforce that idea is when we send the deals in the sample link, if you click that, it sends you to a sample, right? So play around with those dates, to Julian's point, because there's a window where the deal is available. So maybe like the dates that pop in the sample search, you're like, oh, these aren't my dates. And you close out of it. You're like, it's not going to work. It could work. So go into the dates that pop up in the sample search and start to play around with it a little bit, because in Google Flights, where we usually send people, you'll see the different prices pop up in green for what the prices are for different. So play around with that and see what works for you, because the deal we send could work for you if you just play around with it a little bit. And of course, have any questions, want to know, hit us up at support@scottstreetflights.com. Or one of my team members will help you out.
Yeah, you could get a personal response from Lauren herself. There you go. All right. Thank you everyone for joining us. Really, thank you for your questions. Thank you for letting us know what's a good time, what might work better, or if you do like this time. Sorry if we couldn't get to your question. We will try to answer as many questions as we can next week as well. We are back next Wednesday, I believe, at 4 p.m. Eastern. Thank you, Lauren, for joining us. Thanks for taking the time. Really appreciate it. Yeah. All right. Perfect. In that case, thanks everyone for hopping on, and we will talk to you next week. All right.
Bye.